Once the connection with YouTube has been established, then I run over to YouTube. I turn off the live chat. I listen to the audio to make sure we sound okay. Then I go back to sermon audio. I open that, check the audio there to make sure we sound okay. Then I just talk about whatever. What I am going to do is take a drink. All right. Now I'm going to YouTube. Here we go. Jumping over to YouTube. Closing that. Moving that. Opening this. Theology, if I can spell right. Maybe. Here we go. Theology Central. Here we are. You can hear me typing. Theology, if I can spell right. All right. Turn that off. That's good to go. All right. Oh, I guess we need to jump over to sermon audio really quick. Let's go to webcast. There are 482 webcasts currently underway. 482. Just try to wrap your mind around that number. 482 live church services you could be tuning into right now from wherever you are. I mean, that's the amount of information. That's what I just try to get people to think about and to grasp. That many people, right? There are that many webcasts, that many church services. And no matter where you are, you can tune in. I mean, that's all that information just coming at you. Sermon after sermon after sermon, Bible interpretation after Bible interpretation. Obviously, you can't even listen to all 482. And if you went to every one of these churches that are currently broadcasting and you hit follow 482 times, then all 482 of those messages would show up under your feed tab there on the Sermon Audio app. That would give you 482 sermons to listen to just this week, just from the ones that are being preached right now. I mean, you talk about drowning and Bible interpretation, and I mean, I don't even know how to process that sometimes, but there we are. How do we sound? Let's listen. See if we sound okay. Hang on. About drowning and Bible. Okay, there we are. And now we just go back and we wait. Give it a couple of seconds. See if the map is going to work. We have two views from I was going to say the state of Texas, but see, that's kind of being dismissive, right? From the country of Texas. Remember, Texas is a sovereign country. We are not, okay, all right. I'm joking around. But we'll get started here in just a second. I don't think I'm going to wait a long time. All right. Well, oh boy, here we go. I hope you're ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do this. We're going to go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, December the 14th, 2025. It is currently 10:11 a.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the Theology Central studio located right here in Abilene, Texas. Now, I know it's Sunday morning. That means people all across the United States of America have woken up, they've gotten ready, had some breakfast, got dressed, have gotten in their car, and many of them right now are either sitting in a Sunday school class or they're driving to church, right? They're going to arrive at church, they're going to walk in, they're going to hear Sunday school lessons, they're going to hear sermons, and many of them, what they want is something to be encouraging, maybe convicting a little bit, but they want it to feel like church. They want it to feel like a sermon. They want it to agree with the theological team that they have decided to follow, whichever theological team that is. They don't want anything very controversial. They don't want anything to really, upset them or challenge how they think or challenge how they interpret the scripture. I don't think people really want to dig into the scriptures unless that means we're going to dig into the scriptures to find exactly what we all already think is there, right? Nobody really wants to be challenged too much. Well, one of the great things about doing a podcast is I don't have to follow those church rules. I don't have to follow that little church template. Like I can turn on this microphone and there's going to always be negative consequences because I may lose people from listening. People may decide not to support the podcast. So there's always a little bit of that can happen, but its impact is easier to manage, right? If it's just a podcast, it's much easier to support a podcast as far as trying to keep a church functioning. You got to pay, for the electricity. You got the building upkeep, salaries, all the things it takes to keep a church going. You can't upset too many people. You can't. You can't challenge too many people because you will lose them. As soon as someone is not happy, the answer is always to leave. It's always to leave. They never stick around long. So churches whether we like it or not, the structure demands, okay, let me make sure I kind of give the people what they want, because if they don't get what they want, they'll go find someplace where they will get what they want. So that's a whole different dynamic. But in a podcast, you don't need that many people to really keep things going, right? You don't need a lot of people. So you are a little bit more free to say, you know what? We can challenge some things. And this is going to be, I know it's a Sunday morning, but we're going to do that very thing that a lot of churches will not do, because we're going to walk right into some major issues here, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some time to pause, all right? Not completely from the book of Isaiah, because as you know, we've been working since October of 2024 on Isaiah 40 through Isaiah 55. We have been working on this now for a very, very long time, right? A long time. And I really thought we would finish Isaiah 40 through 55 in 2025. I really did. We started it in 2024. But to my own fault, to my own demise, to my own detriment, I have at times I turn to this, or I end up looking at this, or I look at this. Sometimes I get distracted, end up creating another series, then another series, and sometimes, our last study in Isaiah 40 through 55 was, I think, November the 9th. So it's been over a month. But even though I need to get right back to Isaiah 45, that's the chapter we are on. That's the chapter we've been building an observational outline. Even though we need to get right back there and continue our observational outline, I think we're to the last section. We're going to pause. And I guess the only way we can say this, we need to pause long enough to stare directly into a very deep, a very unsettling, and a profound, maybe, and a profoundly important truth found in Isaiah 45. We covered it just briefly. We mentioned it in kind of our observational outline. We didn't do a lot of work there. We kind of moved right through it, and with all intention to go back to it at some point. But I thought, you know what? I know we're not done with the observational outline. So I may be making a mistake, but I'm like, you know what? Today is the day. If we're going to do this, let's do it now. Let's go to Isaiah 45. Let's pause and let's stare right into the face in this very deep, unsettling, and profoundly important truth. And so that's what we're going to do. With or without offense to friend or foe, it doesn't matter who gets upset, that is what we're going to do. Because it's the very kind of verse that gets skipped in sermons, or it gets softened, or it gets paraphrased into something more palatable, something more manageable, something that won't upset so many people. I mean, we gotta handle it, and we're going to do so usually in a relatively quick pace, right? Pastor's got to get through the message, right? We got to get that sermon. We don't want to get too bogged down. We don't want to get too philosophical. We don't want to get too theological. We don't want to irritate anybody. So we kind of move past it, get the 3 points in, and then get everyone to the buffet, by noon. I can't stand the entire structure of all of that. So I think this is the perfect time to pause, and we're just going to walk right up to it. And I know we should be finishing Isaiah 45, but we're going to go right to verse 7. And you know what? We're going to stare it right in the eyes. We're not going to flinch. We're not going to, I'm going to start coughing. We're not going to flinch. We're not going to budge. We're not going to be afraid. We're not going to be, we're going to look into it. And no matter what we see, we're going to deal with it. Is that a good way to describe it? I hope so. All right. So Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7, I want to make this very clear. We're not going to flinch, but Isaiah 45, verse 7, it's not going to flinch. It's not going to budge either. All right? And here is the verse, Isaiah 45, verse 7. Isaiah 45, verse 7. All right? I'll go to verse 6 just so that you get the idea of who is speaking. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 6. That they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none beside me. I am the Lord, and there is none else. This is God speaking. And then verse 7, that's the Lord, all right? I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. I mean, come on. Come on. Now, I know immediately, well, it doesn't mean he creates evil. No. You're going to start. I know what we're going to have a tendency to do. But look, what we have to do is not worry about how it makes us feel. Don't worry about who it offends. We just have to deal with what is here and try to understand it. All right. Okay. That's what we're going to do. All right. And I'm going to read it in a different translation. I form light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil, or some translations may put, I create calamity. Now, for some reason, that makes people feel better, right? Well, he doesn't create evil. He just creates calamity. Okay, all right, I feel so much better. Okay, well, all right. I am the Lord who does all these things. So Isaiah 45, 7, in some ways, it's kind of formed as one sentence, right? But I don't know, is there not I don't know. There's obviously 4 declarations there. Are they stunning declarations? I don't know. I think we can say there are 4 declarations in Isaiah 45, 7. 1 sentence, 4 stunning declarations, and 1 theological explosion. Is that a good way to describe Isaiah 45, 7? 1 sentence, 4 stunning declarations, and 1 theological explosion? I think so, all right? So this is going to be, hopefully we can do this. Well, this will be, I guess, a standalone episode, but I want to make this very clear. There's probably going to be more episodes dealing with Isaiah 45, 7 coming in the future. Because I think one of the things we'll have to do is we'll have to review some random sermons on it, right? Because I want you to hear all the way other pastors handle it. I mean, that would only be fair, right? I always want you to hear the other side. People get mad at me it's always weird when people say that I'm not fair or I'm being No, I always try to let you hear the other side, and I encourage you to always listen to the other perspectives, right? I always challenge you to do that constantly. And whenever we do a review, I don't just go find a sermon, listen to it first, go, oh, I'm going to be able to use this to make my point like I'm creating a straw man. No, I choose sermons at random. We listen to every word together in real time. So there's always the possibility that I could put forth my hermeneutical hypotheses, choose a random sermon, and that random sermon could absolutely dismantle and lay to waste everything I said. I don't know what's going to happen because I go into them blind. So I try to always be fair. So I think we'll have to do some sermon reviews. And sometimes what I think should generate much discussion amongst the listeners, you guys just go silent. You're like, whatever. This is one of those things. I don't know how this doesn't create a lot of questions and struggles. So we will see. We will see what happens. All right. So we're going to try to look. This is what we're going to try to do with Isaiah 45:7. We're going to try to look at how this verse has been handled historically, how it's been softened, I think, in modern translations. If not, whatever we want to say about modern translations, we definitely can say it's been softened in the pulpit. There's no question about that. And what happens if we refuse to soften it? And what do we do when we stare into the face of the text and simply ask, hey, what does it say? And this is what it says. And well, what do we do? Because I think a lot of times, understanding God or theology itself is the study, the knowledge of God. Trying to study God, understand God, I think requires facing what makes us uncomfortable. I think it does. I think when we bring in the concept of God to anything, right? The concept of God. I know for many people, they find that comforting, but I think the concept of God and many of the issues that come with a God is very uncomfortable. It's very difficult. It's very hard to understand. I think the longer you study the concept of God, what God does, the God of the Bible, I think you find yourself being more uncomfortable. If you're being remotely honest, it's those who never seem to get to the uncomfortable stage. They never get bothered. It's those who can read the Bible and just say, oh, it's so comforting, it's so wonderful. God is so wonderful. But they never seem to find themselves with the uncomfortable part, the disturbing part, the confusing part. And if you don't get there, I'm often question how much you're actually studying and how much you're just parroting back what you've been heard. You've reduced everything about God in the Bible to this manageable little Disney version. And I so despise that. That's probably why church in most cases bothers me, because it's just like this watered down propaganda instead of the unfiltered reality of God and Scripture and all the issues that we encounter when we deal with it. All right. So we're going to try to just look at it and whatever happens, happens. All right. I hope that's okay with you. So are you ready? Here's what you need. You probably need a notebook. You definitely need a Bible. You may need some blood pressure medication. And let's just jump in. Now, I'm going to try to explain. We're going to go through this. We'll call this like the initial go through, the initial run through. And I'm just going to kind of go with some ideas. And this is really kind of to lay the foundation where we could come back and build upon it. All right. So I think this will be pretty in depth, but I don't want you to think when we are done, oh, well, I know everything about Isaiah 45:7. It's all fixed. It's all resolved. I've got it. No problem. Let's move on. I think you could return to Isaiah 45 verse 7 countless times over and over and over again and still struggle to some level. At least that's how I feel. All right. But so have a notebook, have a Bible, and understand this is our initial look. We lay the foundation. we will definitely need to do some sermon reviews, and we definitely probably need to come back and ask a lot of very difficult questions. And we still need to put it together in kind of an exegetical way and how it fits the overall theme of Isaiah 45. I'm not going to do a lot of that this morning, maybe some, but we definitely are going to need to do more. All right. So let's slow down. And let's first ask, I think the first thing we need to do is ask, what does the verse actually say? Right? What does the verse actually say? All right, if I can speak correctly. So let's slow down. Let's hear the exact words. If we take the Hebrew of Isaiah 45:7 and we try to write out a very direct kind of a wooden translation, it will be something like this. Forming light and creating darkness, making peace and creating evil/calamity. I am Yahweh, or Jehovah, the one doing all these things. So forming light and creating darkness, making peace and creating evil or calamity, or /calamity. I am Yahweh, the one doing all these things. That's kind of a direct wooden translation. Still a lot there to already work on, but okay. Now there seems to be kind of two parallel pairs, right? Light and darkness, right? Forming light and creating darkness. Those are two parallels, two pairs, right? A parallel pair. And then we have peace and evil. So two parallel pairs, light and darkness, peace and evil. Now some will say peace and evil or calamity. Just keep that in mind, all right? Now, this is obviously very much Hebrew poetry by way of contrast. But I don't think this is in the sense of good versus evil as opposing forces. I think these are both declared, the key here is these are God's works. The last part, I am Yahweh, the one doing all these things. The issue is light, darkness, peace, evil, or calamity. The issue here is these are all God's works. This is something God is doing. I don't think it's designed to be like, oh, good versus evil as they're opposed or they're in. I think all of these, no matter which way, even if you see a contrast, it's all God's works. That to me seems to be the emphasis. Now, the key word that kind of creates all of the controversy, I'm going to go open up the interlinear. I'm going to open it up really quick. If I can find where I put my interlinear. Here it is. Where is it? Give me 1 second. Oh, where is my interlinear? Hang on. Let's just see if I can find it. Here it is. All right. I'm going to go to Isaiah. Go to 45. Verse 7. I'm doing this in real time. I could already have it ready, but I like to do it in real time because I'm trying to encourage you to do the same thing. All right. Without saying it, grab your Blue Letter Bible app, open it up to Isaiah 45, verse 7. Click on verse 7 and open up the interlinear. All right. And then it's this word that's going to create all the controversy. You ready? Here it is in Hebrew. You ready?
Strong's H 7451, Ra, and second entry, Ra, and third entry, Ra'ah.
I typically would say Ra, okay? I can't do the rolling thing there, but Ra'ah, okay? Ra is typically what I'm going to, if you write out the transliteration, it's R-A, right? The pronunciation Ra is usually R-A-H, kind of Ra'ah. Depending on, and I guess there's like three entries, but you get the basic idea. Now that's the word that creates, a theological explosion. All right. There's a lot to try to unpack here, but I want you to see it for yourself. Keep the Blue Letter Bible open and the interlinear open because we will be going back to it numerous times, or at least a few times here, okay? Because I want us to all be on the same page. Now, this is important. That the key word at the center of the controversy is Ra, which is often translated evil, but it's also rendered as disaster, calamity, trouble, woe, and harm. Now, just try to wrap your mind around this. Okay, look at Isaiah 45:7. God speaking, I form light and darkness. Okay, God makes light, God makes darkness. Okay, now, is that just literal? Is that referring to literal light and literal darkness? Is it referring to some kind of symbolic idea of light and darkness? What is it going with? Well, the very next line, I make peace and I create evil or calamity. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I may be jumping the gun a little bit, but I just want to go ahead and throw this out. Nobody wants it to say that God creates evil. Nobody wants that. Everyone will immediately push back and say, oh no, God doesn't create evil. He creates calamity. Well, if you go with the calamity kind of idea, then that means God creates disasters. God creates calamity. God creates trouble. God creates woe. God creates harm. Do you want me to open up a news app this morning? Do you want me to show you some of the harm, the disaster, the calamity that has befallen people in the last 24 hours? Do you want to look at a child who's been molested for 10 years and go, well, God creates harm, He creates calamity, He creates trouble. People who are dying in war, starvation, disease, death, all the pain and suffering. God creates those disasters. He creates that calamity. He creates that trouble. Now, I know Christians will say, yeah, but He does it for our good. Well, they'll try to somehow lessen it, but that's even if you go with that translation, I mean, come on, that's a lot for you to process. But if He creates evil, oh man, now we're really onto something, okay? Now, most modern translations will do it a couple of different ways, okay? I bring prosperity and create disaster. I think that's the NIV. The ESV says something like, I make well-being and create calamity. The New Living Translation has, I bring good times and I create bad times. Hey, you going through a bad time? Hey, God created it. He creates the bad times as well as the good times. Now, you say, well, okay, well, it's a bad day because, this happened. But if it gets really bad, if it gets really painful, if it gets really ugly, if it gets really tragic, do you feel better that God created it? Now, the KJV and the new KJV, they stick to, I make peace and create evil. They stick with it. It's not changed. So which is it? Which one should we go? Evil or calamity? Well, I think before we try to unpack that and try to figure it out and try to be dogmatic or try to offer a definitive translation, because I mean, look, obviously if the translations don't necessarily agree, then it comes down to just, here, if people, I always say this, whenever we come up to some controversy about a word in the Bible, what I love is that if you want this translation, you can go find the so-called experts that will agree with you. But if there's 20 other experts who say it should be translated this way, how is the person who've now not spent most of their lives studying ancient Hebrew or Greek or anything, how are they decide? They just decide by whichever preacher they like. And that drives me crazy. Look, if nobody can seem to agree on how it's translated, then maybe we have to be very careful in being so dogmatic about it. But trust me, in this one, we're going to have some disagreements. I mean, the translations don't necessarily agree. But I think what we should do now, so that's kind of, what does the verse say? Well, it's either God created evil or God created calamity. And I think either way, I don't know how you can be comfortable with that. I don't know how you process that. I guess you can I think you can process it and be okay with it maybe sitting in the pew. But if you think of the real world implications, that's some troubling stuff to deal with, all right? But I think what we need to do is we need to try to see how people have wrestled with this throughout church history, all right? So let's go all the way back to the Jewish rabbinical traditions, all right, or the Jewish rabbinical tradition. Let's go back to there, all right? Jewish interpreters have often understood Ra not as moral evil, but as disaster, as judgment or punishment. The Targum of Isaiah softens the line. And we talk about the Targums in an episode not too long ago. All right, so we've talked about them, and I went through all of what they are and everything about them. They kind of, at least the Targum of Isaiah kind of goes this way. I bring peace and I bring punishments upon the wicked. Oh, now that's much easier to stomach, right? Well, this is only God bringing punishment upon wicked people, right? So now we can't, there's a lot of theological implications there, but you can see how okay, well, that's only for the wicked people. That's for the unrepentant. Yeah, God brings calamity upon them. I guess you could go with that. I don't know how well that works in the real world because, calamity and disaster falls upon everyone, but okay. All right. Rabbinic theology stressed that God is the ultimate source of all, but he does not commit moral evil. Rather, he uses disaster for justice or correction. So this is the idea, okay, God may be in charge, he's the ultimate source of everything, but he does not commit moral evil. No. But he just uses disaster, and he's doing so for justice or for correction. That's kind of like the rabbinical tradition. Now, the early many church fathers affirm the absolute sovereignty of God, including over what we call evil. For example, Augustine, God judged it better to bring good out of evil than to allow no evil to exist. Man, I have so many problems with that. Oh, aren't you so glad that God decided that it's better to bring good out of evil than to allow no evil to exist? Isn't that great? Hey, God made the decision, hey, it's better to bring good out of evil than not to let evil exist. But in the meantime, evil is going to cost life and to bring pain, suffering. I have a hard time with that philosophically. Come on, all right? Augustine seemed to understand that Isaiah 45:7 is teaching that God ordains even evil events, though he himself is not morally evil. So Augustine seemed to go a little bit further. God ordains evil events. So any evil event that occurs, God ordained. But hey, but just feel good. Don't worry. God himself is not morally evil. God is not morally evil. He just ordains evil to happen. But he's not morally evil. So don't be upset with God. He just ordained that evil thing to occur that brought pain, suffering, and death. And again, I can mention all kinds of horrible, evil things, and I could get very graphic. People don't like when I do that. They roll their eyes, they sigh, they get mad at me, but I don't care. Come on. This is what we're supposed to do. If we're going to if we're not going to flinch and we're going to look into the face of this, if God ordains evil, that includes everything from rape to molestation to murder to killing. To gruesome type of murders. Everything. Just crime, stealing, theft. Every moral evil. If God ordains it, then. But hey, he's not morally evil. I guess that can make you feel better theologically. But you've got to look at, hey, this horrible thing happened. Well, God ordained it. Hey, did you see the news? This absolutely horrible thing. And when people say, I just don't know what's wrong with the world today. I just don't know what's gotten into people. Well, I don't know. Maybe the God who ordains moral evil? Yeah, that nobody wants to discuss that because that's really, really troubling. Now, others like Origen took a more allegorical view, trying to distance God from any moral evil by spiritualizing the verse. So they would try to spiritualize it, try to do something with it to try to get away from it. So that's kind of the church father. Once again, you had people wrestling with it, people struggling with it. Now, if we jump to the Reformation, now I think things get a little bit more blunt. If we go with Calvin, all events whatsoever are governed by the secret counsel of God. nothing happens. I'm kind of adding a word literal there. Nothing happens but what he has knowingly and willingly decreed. That's from the Institutes of the Christian Religion by Calvin. All events whatsoever are governed by the secret counsel of God. Nothing happens but what has knowingly and willingly decreed. Now, if those words sound familiar, you can probably find those words almost it sounds like almost a direct quote, if not at least a clear. It almost sounds like a paraphrase in, I think, the Westminster Confession and the London Baptist Confession under God's decrees. I think it may be either under God's decrees or under God's providence. I'd have to look. But it basically, whatsoever comes to pass, God ordained it. God decreed it. Whatever it is, good or evil, God decreed it. And I've tried to confront people with the reality of that. That means no matter how evil, no matter how horrible an act is, God decreed it. He ordained it. Now, but he's not morally evil. No. He's not. But he ordained it and he decreed it. Now, it's weird how we do things theologically, right? If you found out, okay, here's a mom and she set this entire thing up where her child would be brutally murdered or sexually assaulted. She, in a sense, set it up. She ordained it. She decreed it. She worked that it would go just this way. But she's not morally evil. No. Wouldn't you declare her to be morally evil? But in theology was like, no. God ordained it. God decreed it. But no. He's not morally evil. It's kind of weird how we do that, isn't it? Now, I know. See, I'm not supposed to be talking about this on a Sunday morning, because if I was standing behind a pulpit talking about this, I would have already lost 50% of the congregation, would have already gotten up and walked out. So we're not supposed to have these conversations in church. Now, on Isaiah 45:7, Calvin basically went this way. We learn that God is the author of peace and of war, of prosperity and adversity, of life and of death. So in a word, of all things. Now, he doesn't necessarily use the word evil there, but hey, God is the author of all things. God is the author of all things. The Reformers, I think, if you look in church history, I think it's fair to say they did not shy away from this verse. They saw it as a foundational statement of divine sovereignty. They didn't shy away with it because the Reformation really, really strongly emphasized the sovereignty of God. They didn't shy away from it. All right? Now, so many issues to try to unpack there, but we're just trying to go through this now. So let's jump from the Reformation to modern theology. All right? And I think this is where the shift really occurs. All right? Modern Christianity, especially in its evangelical and kind of apologetic forms, they tried to distance God from evil. So Isaiah 45:7 is retranslated, reinterpreted, and kind of, they try to ignore it. You'll hear, God permits evil, but he does not create it. Okay, well, even that is troubling. Hey, God permits it. He just didn't create it. So here's God, all-powerful, all-knowing. He's like, okay, ooh, that child's going to be molested. That child's going to be beaten for 10 years. That child's going to be tied up and beat with a baseball bat or electric cord. Okay, I'll permit it. Hey, this war is going to happen and 6 million people are going to be exterminated. I will allow it. Hey, all these people are going to be murdered and killed in Israel. Okay, I will allow it. Hey, horrible things is going to happen to Gaza, to those who live in Gaza, and they're going to be decimated and destroyed. That's okay. I will permit it. And somehow Christians are okay with that. Hey, as long as we say God didn't create it, he just permits it. So that's a weird distinction we make. Hey, don't blame God. I mean, he just permitted it. He didn't create it. You feel better now? I feel so much better, right? So, and let's see how this works. Just see if you've ever seen these kind of news articles. Some woman being physically assaulted or sexually assaulted in, say, New York City. and there's 30 people standing there just watching it happen, permitting it to happen, letting it happen, not doing anything about it. What's your reaction to that? What's your reaction? Well, I mean, they didn't create it. They didn't do it. They just watched it. They just permitted it. I mean, they're good. No. Don't we get typically? I get almost violently angry over that. I get mad when I see that. But it's very difficult it's very different when we enter into the world of theology. We're like, okay, well, there's God, all powerful, all knowing, all present, or omnipresent, present everywhere at all times. Well, he's not doing the evil. He just permits it. Hey, I feel better. It's all good. I don't know. I struggle a little bit with that. Am I not allowed to? I say I'm not allowed to bring up these questions. I know. All right. Within modern evangelical apologetic kind of Christianity, this refers to natural disaster, not moral evil. Don't you feel better? Hey, that natural disaster where 3,000 people died, God permitted that or God created that. That's okay. Just not moral evil. Well, so God creates a disaster that wipes out 1,000 people, 500 people, 400 people, 300 people. Hey, that's okay. It's not moral evil. Well, what do you call that? When you just create a storm or a disaster and thousands of people die. Now, see, I can already hear it. I know some of you are getting very frustrated with me. I know. If I was in church, I could already be looking at the faces. And immediately what would happen is somebody would want to start arguing with me. They would get mad because they would get defensive. Don't get defensive. Take a deep breath and just think about it logically. Come on. Forget that you're in church. Forget that you're having a theological conversation. Just think about the implications. But it's weird. A pastor will say that. Hey, no. When it says God creates evil, he just creates natural disasters. Oh, okay. Thank you, Pastor. I feel so much better. Okay, what time do we meet at the Golden Corral? Wait, stop. You're okay with that? Doesn't that raise like a million questions? Or they'll say, this is about calamity. It's not about sin. Oh, okay, good. I feel much better. But doesn't calamity bother you as well? See, what I think happens is in an effort in modern Christianity to try to somehow protect God's image, the weight of this verse is kind of reassigned elsewhere. And I think what we end up with is not what the text actually says, but we end up with a Disney version, a Hallmark version, a safer version. And nobody should ever tolerate that. You don't reinterpret the verse, translate the verse in a different way so that it's safer. And there's lots of issues we do that with. If there's some man in the Old Testament does something, we'll say, maybe there was consent, and we'll try to solve it. I don't know there. I think there's no. Don't say that, because we've always trying to. It's weird. If it's someone evil in the Bible, we don't even care about trying to protect their image. We will say a million things bad about them and even add more onto them. But if it's one of our supposed heroes of the faith, then we got to go, it wasn't like that. Well, it wasn't like that. It's very weird. I think we're like the press secretary for God and the Bible. And we always have to come out and defend it no matter what. And we shouldn't be trying to defend it. We should just be trying to wrestle with it. But let's get back to the verse. What does that Hebrew word actually mean? Ra. What does it actually mean? Well, before I go through any of my notes, let's just do this. I'm going to go back to the Blue Letter Bible app, the interlinear. All right. I'm just going to start at the top of the page. Ra. Right. Then you can listen to it, be pronounced. Remember, there's 3.
Strong's H 7451. Ra. and second entry, Ra, Ra, and third entry, Ra'ah, Ra'ah.
All right. It's a part of speech is absolute state, masculine, plural, intensive noun. All right. We have the etymology of the word. We have some reference, and then we have an outline of biblical usage. You ready? Here's the outline of biblical usage. Bad, evil, bad, disagreeable, malignant, bad, unpleasant, evil, giving pain, unhappiness, misery, evil, displeasing, bad of its kind, land, war, bad of value, worse than worse, sad, unhappy, evil, bad, unkind, bad, evil, wicked, ethically, and general of persons, thoughts, deeds, and actions. Evil, distress, misery, injury, calamity, evil, distress, adversity, evil, injury, wrong, evil, ethical, evil, misery, distress, evil, injury, wrong, evil, ethical. Are you getting an idea how many times evil is used there to describe the usage of this word? It's used 663 times. You ready? 442 times. Guess how it's translated? And remember, it's used 663 times in the King James, 442 times. Guess how it's translated? Evil. 59 times, wickedness. 25 times, wicked. 21 times, mischief. 20 times, hurt. 13 times, bad. 10 times, trouble. 9 times, sore. 6 times, affliction. 4 times, adversity. 3 times, ill-favored. 3 times, harm. 3 times, not. 2 times, noisome. 2 times, grievous. 2 times, sad. So what's the overall way that it's translated? Evil, wickedness, and wicked. Without any question. Nobody can even argue with me. The normal way this would be translated would be evil or wicked. God created wickedness. God created evil. And that's how it would be translated in Isaiah 45:7, if we're going with how the word is typically translated. But see that, no. We can't have that. He created calamity. I feel so much better. Strong's definition: bad, evil, natural or moral, adversity, affliction, bad, calamity, then it goes on to all the others. All right? So I just want to make it very clear, that's how it's normally translated. So it doesn't matter what preachers say. Who cares what preachers say? It's normally translated that way. You can look at it for yourself. Open up the Blue Letter Bible app, go to Isaiah 45:7, look up the word evil. Going through the interlinear, click on evil. You'll see it's the Hebrew word ra, and then you'll see everything that I just gave you. Not making it up. You draw your own conclusions. All right? I want to make sure you have that down. So now let's work through this a little bit, all right? Now, the ra occurs over 600 times in the Hebrew Bible. Most often it means evil, as I've just demonstrated. I could give you examples. Genesis 6:5. Every inclination of his heart, of the human heart, was only evil all the time. Ra. That's Genesis 6:5. Jeremiah 18:11. Behold, I am fashioning a disaster, ra, against you. Now there's disaster. Okay. But even that would be something horribly negative, right? In many contexts, it clearly means moral evil, and other times it can be used as calamity or disaster. But I want you to know that out of those 600 times, over 400 is evil, wickedness. So the majority is that way. But you can see sometimes it's translated as disaster. So it can be. I want to make sure we're fair. But overall, you see how it's typically translated. All right? And even if God is the one bringing creating a disaster to go after someone, I mean, that's kind of an evil. Well, I won't go there. But it's definitely a bad thing that's going to fall on someone. We'll at least say that. So what do we do with Isaiah 45:7? Most scholars say the context supports disaster or calamity, since it's paired with shalom, peace. So it's not a moral binary, but a circumstantial one. Okay, that's at least a decent argument. Hey, it's peace. Well, it would make sense that it would be peace and calamity, not peace and evil. I can kind of see that. But even if we say it means disaster, again, aren't we walking right back into the unavoidable conclusion? God is the author of calamity. God creates darkness, not just light. God creates what we fear, not just what we enjoy. I think we can soften the word, but I don't think we can soften the message. God is the author of calamity. God is the author of disaster. God is the author of the very thing that we fear, that brings pain, that brings suffering, that brings hurt. So this kind of brings us to the problem of evil and kind of some uncomfortable logic. Even if you take Isaiah 45:7 and you translate it to mean disaster, does that really solve the problem? If God creates calamity, or even permits evil, or merely supposedly uses evil for good, you're still left with some inescapable reality or inescapable truths. God could have prevented it. God allows it. God ordains the world in which it occurs. If God is all-powerful, if God is all-knowing, if God is sovereign over all of creation, then the existence of evil and the existence of suffering can only be traced back to, let me see here. Okay, I'm putting my hand here on the wall next to me. Let's just trace it back. I'm moving my finger going backwards. And we go back and we keep going back. We got to find the source. We keep going back. In the beginning, God. I don't care what games you play. I don't care what linguistic games you play. When you trace everything back, in the beginning, God. God, you can say, you can try to blame Satan, but okay, let's go through. In the beginning, God. Who created Satan? God. Well, he wasn't Satan at the time. He was whatever you want to call him. He was this beautiful angel. Okay, but who created him? God. Did God not know what that beautiful angel was going to do? Yes, but he still created him. Once that evil angel rebels, what could God have done? He could have destroyed him. Problem solved. Did he destroy him? Well, according to most theologies, most biblical understanding, not only did he not destroy him, he just kicked him out of heaven and let him come where? To the very earth that he had created. Not only does he give him access to the earth, he seems to open up the gate and lets him come right into a garden where he had created two people, Adam and Eve. Now, he created Adam and Eve knowing exactly what they were going to do, knowing that they were going to sin, and knowing that the one who would bring sin to them would be the angel he created. Now, once he did not stop the angel, prevent the angel, or kill the fallen angel, he didn't do that. He lets him in. And then once Adam and Eve sinned, what could he have done? He could have destroyed them, stop everything, no advancement of evil, no people being born sin, but nothing. No. He lets it. And then what does he do? Instead of keeping it self-contained within the garden, he could have just closed it off. Boom, close the gate. This is it. It's never going to leave this place. No. Not only does he let it leave the place, he lets them be fruitful and multiply. And what are they being fruitful and multiplying? They are producing corrupt fruit and multiplying that fruit because everyone born is born a sinner. And then what happens? Things get so bad that up to Genesis 6. Okay, this has gotten out of hand. Pardon me. I got to do something. I got to destroy everything. So he floods everything. But guess what? He allows some people on the ark who carries the very corruption that he let out of the garden. And then instead of letting him all drown on that ark and sinking the ark, no. He lets the evil off the ark so that it can continue to spread and there would be pain and suffering. No matter what game you want to play, you trace it back, it begins and ends with God. We either face that, or we believe in a God who's not in control, or you believe in a God who's only reacting to evil, you believe in a God who's surprised by history, or you believe in a God who's just like us. And that is not the God of Isaiah 45, no matter what linguistic games you play. The entire chapter is about the absolute sovereign cosmic power of Yahweh, who alone is God and there is no other. I form light. I create darkness. I make peace. I create evil. I am the Lord who does all these things. It doesn't answer why. It doesn't soften the how, but it makes one thing inescapably clear. Nothing is outside his hand. Nothing. Calamity, disaster, nothing is outside of his hand. Does it make you feel better? Does it help you at all? No, I'm always tormented and conflicted by this. Let me, before we try to wrap this up, we try to move forward. Let me at least try to offer something here. In the world in which we live, it is absolutely apparent. This is a reality. This is a non-debatable issue. There is pain, suffering, death, and evil things occur. Everyone has to acknowledge that. Everyone has to acknowledge, even if they don't want to use the word evil, horrible things happen. Unspeakable things happen. Twisted, disgusting, vile, whatever words you want to use, right? If you don't want to use the word evil, let's say an atheist or agnostic don't want to use the word evil because that's making a moral judgment, but on what basis did they make the moral judgment? Okay, we can get into all of that issue. It's just a reality. Now, you've got two options. Horrible, evil things just happen. It's just a random luck of the draw. You get it impacts you. It doesn't impact you. Don't really know. It's just the way it works. We don't really know why people do evil things. We don't even have a way of really defining it. It removes God, but you're still left with the same pain, suffering, and horrible things. You just don't know. It's just random. It's just, I don't know. Just some people evolved to do these things. It's just, you're really left with no very definitive answers. Now you bring in God, you still have a million questions, but at least you say, okay, there's a God who decreed it, who ordained it. There's a God who has purpose. Now that may make you feel better. Now it still leads to, well, some of the same uncomfortable questions, but at least, I don't know, does it, I guess it leaves us with this idea that maybe it leaves us with the idea that at least God is doing something, right? Maybe it gives some feeling of there's meaning or purpose in it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that brings you comfort. I don't know if it does. I don't know if to me, well, there's a God involved in this or there's a God not involved in this. The same thing, at least for me, from a personal standpoint, I'm still the one left suffering. I'm still the one left beaten. I'm still, like, if I'm looking at life and no matter what happens to me, you know, whether you're beaten, whether you're molested, whatever you're suffering, whether it's physical, mental, well, God decreed it. Does that make it easier? I don't know if it makes it easier. See, if it's just random, oh, well, that's just how it happens. But if there's a God who's all powerful, just sitting there watching it, decreeing it, I don't know. That sounds more cruel to me. I don't know. I struggle with this. So why does all of this matter? Why am I doing an entire episode on this? Because I think any theology that ignores, like Isaiah 45:7 and all of these problems, is just a theology that's nothing more than sentimentalism. All right, was it Night Ranger who did Sentimental Avenue? Was that the name of the song? I can't remember. All right, I'm going to give it a musical reference. And much of church is just sentimentalism. All it is. People go to church for sentimental reasons. They want sentimental type messages. They want feel good. They want to go to church because it feels like church. I don't get it. I would want to go to a place that deals with theology, but people like Christianity because it's a sentimental, emotional kind of thing. It's good feelings. It's tradition. I don't know. It's just garbage to say people go to church to learn the scriptures. They don't. Because if they did, people would be walking out of church time and time again going, what is this? And I think a Christian faith that avoids tension is nothing more than fiction. A Christian faith that avoids tension is nothing more than fiction. Truth should matter more than comfort. Now, everyone talks a big game until they're confronted with that which is uncomfortable. Because if we look at Isaiah 45:7, and we just let it stand, we try not to change it, I think it forces us to ask some questions. What kind of God do I believe in? Is he only the God of sunshine and peace? Is he a God of both light and darkness? Is he a God of both peace and calamity? Of peace and evil? Of peace and disaster? Well, Isaiah 45, no matter what kind of linguistic games you want to play, seems to scream from the rooftop, he is God over all, and there is no other God like him. And if he's truly sovereign, no evil, no calamity, no suffering, that he did not foresee, that he did not permit, that he did not intend. Just think about it. If God is truly sovereign, then there is no evil, there is no calamity, there is no suffering that he did not foresee, that he did not permit, and that he did not ordain. Which then raises all kinds of questions, because if you're suffering and then you're praying to the very God who ordained and permitted and caused the suffering. That's what I'm always baffled by. Hey, this horrible thing happened. Let's all pray. And I'm like, we're going to pray to the God who allowed it, who permitted it, who ordained it. And now you're going to pray for God to change it? He's the one who ordained it. He's the one who permitted it. What are you praying to him for? Hey, pray that God will intervene in this situation. The one he ordained, the one he decreed, the one he permitted. Now you want him to change it? Hey, God, I know you ordained it. I know you permitted it. I know you decreed it, but we need you to fix it. We need you to reverse your decision. He's the one who ordained it. It makes no sense. Hey, we got this difficult situation. I need you to pray. Okay, what exactly do you want me to pray? Do you want me to pray according to God's will, or do you want me to pray against God's will? Because God's will would be, well, that happened. He permitted it. He decreed it. He ordained it. So what do you want me to do again? Well, then they're like, I don't want you to pray. I will go find someone else who's got a better theology. Oh, you're going to go find someone who's got a theology that brings you a little bit more comfort. Because we like to create an idea of God that we control and manage. We do not like the God who blows away and goes against our thoughts and our ways and our ideas. We don't like that because we can't manage it. We can't control it. And it seems beyond anything we can even comprehend. God ultimately does whatever he seems to want to do, even if we don't understand it, can't see it, and even if it breaks us. So what do you do with Isaiah 45:7? Well, I think we stopped trying to explain it away. Right? I think we acknowledge that no matter whether you translate the word evil or you translate the word calamity, you still got a lot of difficulties, right? And maybe all we can confess is, truly, you are a God who hides himself, O God of Israel, the Savior. If you look at verse 15, verily, this is Isaiah 45:15, the very same chapter. Verily, thou art a God that hidest thyself, O God of Israel, the Savior. I mean, the Bible in Isaiah 45:15 says he hides himself, but it also says, I am the Lord and there is no other. That's right there in verse 6. This is the God who speaks light and darkness. He speaks peace and calamity, but he's also a Savior who remains sovereign even over your suffering. Maybe, just maybe, I'll just throw this idea out there. Maybe sometimes faith isn't found in defending God from the text. Maybe faith is found in saying, well, this is what it says. I'm not going to soften it. I'm going to simply bow before it. Now, I'm going to open up a tab here, and I'm just going to open up a report. Bondi Beach bloodbath. Terrorist target Jews. 11 killed at Hanukkah party. Rabbi, children shot. Shock footage of slaughter. That's the very first news article I just see. Bondi Beach bloodbath. Terrorist targets Jews. 11 people killed at Hanukkah party. A rabbi and children shot. Shock footage of slaughter. That's the very first thing I see when I open up the news. The very first thing. ISIS kills American soldiers. Ambush in Syria. Update, mass shooting at Brown, 2 dead in Providence. Israel says it killed senior Hamas commander. Now I can just go from news article to news. I'm just reading them right there. Just with no, I'm not giving you all the details, but you can go look at these news stories. Disaster, calamity, tragedy, pain, suffering, evil, all occurring in real time, while you're sitting at church saying, oh, everything's wonderful, oh, great, rainbows and unicorns and Skittles, amen. Now let's go hold hands and sing Kumbaya. We go to church to escape reality but church should be the place where we are forced to face a reality in the context of there is a God and there is none other than He. We have to face these realities. We don't go to church to escape them. We go to church to be confronted with the God of this reality as he is revealed to us in Scripture and all of its complexity and all of its difficulty. And either you run from it, hide from it, water it down, deny it, or you face it and you bow before it in humility, going, I don't get it and I don't understand. And we wrestle with God, and we wrestle and we wrestle. And we know ultimately we're going to walk away with a broken hip or a hip out of place, and we're going to walk with a limp for the rest of our lives. Because anytime you wrestle with God in Scripture, you're going to walk away broken in some way, shape, or form. You're going to walk away limping because you're coming up with realities and concepts that are beyond our comprehension because I don't even understand it. Because no matter what games, church games you play, it's all the problems begin with those very first few words. In the beginning, God created. The beginning of everything, the origin of everything, the source of everything is God, no matter what kind of games you want to play. You blame Satan, who created him. You blame Satan, who allows him to exist. You blame evil. Where does it arise from? You can play all the little games. Well, God uses secondary means. He uses secondary causes. That's the language of the London Baptist Confession of Faith. So, God, but he's not responsible, or he's not morally responsible, or we're not gonna put any blame on him. Okay, well, how convenient. Now, again, let me make it very clear. I'm not attacking the concept of God. I am wrestling with the reality of God and the reality around me. But I also know if I remove God, I'm left with just, the reality doesn't change. Remove God, you still have the same reality of pain, suffering, and evil. Now guess what I kind of do? I kind of remove now my ability to call something evil. Because then how do I determine evil? Do we get to declare as humans what is evil and what is not evil? Well, that leads to a slippery slope, right? And I know slippery slope is not a logical argument, but it is at least a concern. Because if we define what's evil, then what I am so upset about and think is so horrifying, well, could literally just be changed because the majority of people decide to change it. There would be no ultimate ability to say this is evil or this is good. At least God gives me some kind of a moral standing, but then that can just backfire on me as well. Because the God who says this is evil and this is evil is the very God who's allowing it, permitting it, ordained it, and decreed it. So now the very moral evil that I have the standard to say something is evil, God is the one who decreed it and ordained it. Now that's just as disturbing. Now I know this is not, you say, well, I don't turn into a theology podcast for this nonsense. Now you've given me a million questions. I don't know what to do. Well, welcome to theology. Welcome to the way it's supposed to be. Not what church calls theology. It's such a game. It's whatever. When you're like, we study theology. Oh, give me a break. You study your church's theological propaganda. You don't really struggle with theology because you'd come face to face with these issues and not know what to do. But you'll have your nice little pat answer to make everyone feel better. Because you don't want to offend the people in church. They'll get mad and go somewhere else. Now, here's what I challenge you to do. Hop on Sermon Audio, type in Isaiah 45:7, and start listening to sermons and see what they present as a solution. And we will be reviewing some of them at some point. All right. That's Isaiah 45:7. Oh, man. My hip's hurting. Wow. Oh, man. I don't think I'm going to have to get a crutch today. I'm going to have to get a cane. I don't even think I can walk anymore. God bless.